Hi guys, this is Gayathri and this is my YouTube channel. And through this YouTube channel, I'll be discussing about literary topics. And today I'm planning to do a video on Framed. This is a poem written by Claire Harris. And I'll be giving an overview about Claire Harris. She is a Canadian poet. And after that, we'll get into the poem Framed written by her. So, talking about Claire Harris, she was born and brought up in Trinidad, spot of Spain, Calgary, Alberta. We cannot say like born and brought up, born in part of Spain, Trinidad. And most of her works we can see like she's an African lady, so that most of her work she has used powerful imageries to highlight the importance of freedom and independence of women, because in their community women are not given that much importance or independence. Freedom is denied for them, so she speaks for them. Therefore she uses powerful imagery to describe that too. And talking about her education, we can say that like she did her schooling, she did her education from University College Dublin, and one of her famous poetry collection, like in 1992, Drawing Down a Daughter. This was actually nominated for Governor General's Award. And when we say like describing about her poetry, we can say like it is quite a bit different from all other poetry, because when we see the structure of the poem in the same page, like contrasting both poetry and prose, like we'll not be able to discuss whether that particular work is a poetry or a prose, because she won't use punctuation marks, there is no enough gap in between. So this all structure shows that how the women in her community are surrendered or suppressed under that. That is in most of her work, psychological depression or the psychological struggles faced by these colored women in the sense the women of Africa or black women, how the violence, the oppression experienced by them are given more importance by her. And I have already mentioned that she was born in Trinidad, and I didn't mention the year, I hope. So in 1937, June 13, and she died in the year 2018, February 5th. Just keep it in mind. And then discussing about the different ways of her poetry writing, like in the year 1966, how she became a poet, or how she became a poet in the sense how she first wrote a poem and how she published a poem. In the year 1966, she emigrated to Canada from Trinidad, and for a year she worked as an English teacher in a high school there, and after 1 year she began to write poetry and publish poetry. So that is how her beginning was like. And most of her poetry, it had strong and powerful imagery, and that is how it stood. Like her poetic mission was quite unique from all other black poets, like black women poets, like those who wrote for black women in Canada. Those days the poetries were different from Claire Harris's poetry, because she has used that much powerful imageries and she was bold enough to express that. That was her way of conveying. When we hear like this and all, we may feel like how she was born and brought up. So how she was born and brought up in a middle class family in Trinidad. And talking about her parents, they were so encouraging. Like even we know that during her times, women were not given that much importance, and they were not oppressed. Especially if we are taking her case, their family, women are always suppressed because they are black, uneducated employees like that. So, but her parents told that she have to gain knowledge, then only she can stand on her own feet. You have to be financially independent. In one of her interviews, she said to Sonya Kraus that when she was 3 years old, her mother told her that every woman has to have a profession. So if you have a profession, then there is no need for her to depend on any other man. So that is her dialogue made by her mother. Even in that tender age, that particular girl was brought up like that. So just imagine how she was born and brought up by these powerful parents. So that is reflected in her poetry too. So that is how we can see the different ways of powerful imagery. She's not she's very bold enough to explain all those things. She's not scared of the society. What will they say? Like, as if I'm an African lady, and what people may say. Like, she don't have a feeling because she is empowered. She got education and she can speak up because she is financially independent and she has a job on her own. So that is what the condition is. Similarly, the psychological depression, trauma faced by the women are the main highlights of her poetry. So that is what Claire Harris's works are all about. And about her awards and all, she won numerous awards. I'm not that much. I'm not going to describe into that level because numerous awards were won by her, and her bibliography, not a bibliography, her works are also a lot. So I'm not going to mention deep about that. So now I think that you have got an overall idea about Claire Harris, and we'll move on to the poem. Framed, written by Claire Harris. So in this poem, Framed, Claire Harris is trying to mention about the sufferings of black women in her community. So they're always given a space inside a frame. And the frame itself refers to a borderline or a boundary which they are not supposed to cross. Okay, so these women, they were made to stand. This black women they were made to stand within the circle drawn by the patriarchy. Similarly, we can see in this poem, she is trying to give more importance to the black women, and I have analyzed this particular poem in two ways, in which one is that Claire Harris, she has mentioned, she has depicted two women characters in this particular poem. And in the first case, I'm considering one as an educated, empowered working woman, and in the other case as a maid. Okay, and the next lady is a maid like that. And in the other case, in the second case, I'll be considering them as both mother and her daughter, like that. So now let us read through the lines of the poem. We can read, "She is in your painting, the one you bought when the taxi snarled in market lines. You jumped out and grabbed a picture of stilted wooden houses against the vivid island. Even then, there was recognition." So the lines implies that a working woman is the one who has a taxi. Like we know that a maid, no, she might not be having all those facilities like taxi and all. So the working woman, she saw a painting, and after seeing that picture, what she did was inside the she saw, after seeing that picture inside the frame, she was able to recollect her past. That is what is the word recognition is given. Like she was able to recollect her past, or sometimes her past or her community's past. Okay, and she can see lot of lives of women who are directly or indirectly related to her in that way. And the word recognition, you can see the word recognition out there, and it refers to the realization of her past. Like, or she can relate her ancestors to the lady who was there in the wooden frame or something. In that way also we can consider her, in that way also we can consider that. Okay, now when she is considering her case, her own case, like she is independent, she works, she earns a living. So even though during her time women were not independent, or her family support, Claire Harris is about her. Claire Harris, her family supported her, because I have already mentioned in the intro part about when I mentioned about Claire Harris, hers was an achievement oriented family. So her parents encouraged her a lot and told to be independent, so that they don't have to depend on men for their survival. because especially when her community is taken into consideration, because they belong to Africa, there are racial and gender discrimination. So throughout there is a double discrimination experienced by a woman in her community. Okay, so the only way to get over from all this is to become economically independent. Now, the working woman, when we are taking her case, she has a job of her own. So she is not like the maid. And when we see that what particular word, that wooden houses is there, no? Wooden houses, it can be referred to like the ancestral house in which she lived, or the working women might have lived, and she's remembering her past, how she lived and what kind of house she lived, and with what kind of people, like women, she lived. That is all she is remembering, like that, reminiscing her past. So in the next para we can see the lines are: she is a woman in a broken pair of men's shoes. Her flesh slipped down the old socks around her ankles, a tray of laundry on her head. I'm there too, but I would not be like her. At supper, she set the one plate and the whole cup at my place. For herself, a mug, a bowl, my leavings, they said I resembled her. I spent hours before the mirror, training my mouth to different lines. So, this is the second para. And after reading this, the women is, I felt like the women is saying, or the empowered women is saying that she is a lady. She refers to the maid. Okay. The empowered woman is saying that the maid is a lady in a broken pair of men's shoes. So the empowered lady is describing her maid. We can analyze in that way. So just look at her. She's saying, when I'm saying just look at her, what you have to do is that you have to picturize or visualize her in your mind, so that you'll be able to recollect that scenery properly. She is a victim of the rules imposed by the patriarchy. That is why patriarchal society, that is why it is mentioned like she is a broken pair, in a broken pair of men's shoes, it's described like that. And we can see like her flesh, when we are describing, no, we can see the lines, her flesh slipped down like socks around her ankles. That is so the weariness, that refers to the weariness, the hard work, or the trials and tribulations which she is facing. Everything is mentioned in the poem like that. Then we can see a tray of laundry on her head. I am here too, but I would not be like her. At supper, she set the one plate and the whole cup at my place. For herself, a mug, a bowl, my leavings, they said I resembled her. I spent hours before the mirror training my mouth to different lines. So this line, a tray of laundry on her head, that line, so it's a powerful imagery. Claire Harris, I told her, she uses powerful imagery, bold and powerful imagery to express her feelings about the black women in her community. So this line is a powerful imagery, how much overload she has, the maid has upon her, and how she is hardworking. So even after doing all the works alone, she is not given much importance. No one actually cares for her or for what she is doing. That's her case. Then the working woman, she is saying that I am also like her. Just see, I am there too. I'm also, I know I'm also like here, just like a woman, as an African lady, but I'll not be like her. Why she's saying like, why I'll not be like her? She's saying, why I'll not be like her? At supper, she set the one plate and the whole cup at my place. For herself, a mug, a bowl, my leavings. They said I resembled her. I spent hours before the mirror training my mouth to different lines. She's saying at supper, the maid set the one plate and the whole cup at the working women's place. And after making all the items for her, what the maid eats, what she eats is that whatever the working lady has left over, or what all remaining food is there on what, that is what the maid is taking, because she don't have the freedom to eat what she wants to. So just look at her. For herself, there is only a mug, a bowl, my leavings. They said I resembled her. They refers to the patriarchal society. How I resembled her. I then she's saying, like, I spent hours before the mirror training my mouth to different lines. Yeah, I don't have to be like her. The working women are saying I don't have to be like her. So that what I'm doing is that every day I stand in front of the mirror and try to be different from her. Because I don't want to be like this. I want to be independent. I want to empower myself. That is, I don't want to be a lady who always depends on men. I have to stand on my own feet. So that the lady is trying different ways to be like, not to be like her mate. So that is what she is saying. And in the next para, you can see, at night while I read, she folded the blanket on her narrow board, coal fire, smooth on her face. She boiled, scrubbed, ironed, musk of soap, and other soil like mist around her head. Often she dreamed I would have a maid like her. She laughed. I studied harder, harder. She grieved. I was grown a woman. I was grown without affinity. Yeah, she is saying at night, do you know what she is doing? Every time she is doing hectic job, when I'm studying or whenever I'm reading, just we have to see her. Like she folded like the line is like she folded like she is having a lot of works to do. That is what is she is saying. She folded her narrow uh, she folded the blanket on her narrow board, coal fire, smooth on her face. So she boiled, scrubbed, ironed, musk of soap and other soil like mist around her. Often she dreamed. Yeah, mist around her. Till that, when you analyze it, you can see how much hard work she is doing. No, that much hard work she is doing, and she washes the clothes, boiling, scrubbing, etc. So everything she is doing on her own. Now look at her appearance. That much hectic work she is doing. While I'm reading, I'm doing a simple task that I'm reading only. Okay. Often I think she might dream like I would have a maid. If I would have a maid like her, then she laughed. Then what I did, what the empower lady is doing there, I studied harder, harder. She grieved. I was grown a woman. I was grown without affinity. That is what it's saying. Yes, the empowered woman is saying that often the maid, she might have dreamt, now I'm a maid. But if I was having a maid, then it would have been very easy for me that she would do everything for me. That is what she might be dreaming. And she'll be laughing, thinking that. So, but at that time, what I did in the sense, what the working women did, I studied harder and harder. At that time, she grieved because of not studying. Might be because of her financial condition, like my maid's financial condition was not fit for studying. Sometimes that can be the reason, or different reasons might be there. But without studies, she is not empowered. That is what I is saying. I was grown without affinity. That line. As a woman, people won't consider me. People won't give that much affection to me because men only are given more importance. That is the society, patriarchal society. Okay, so in the last and final para, you can see, for the calling, her eroded hands, cupped like a chalice, she offered me the blasted world as if to say, this is our sacrament drink. I would not, this is all there is. I could not, I left school, I left, she faded. The island faded, styles changed. You hid the dusty painting in the attic, but I'm still there, the one in middle ground. My face bruising lines of soft white sheets, my hand raised as if to push against the frame. Yeah, whenever I'm calling, her eroded hands, in the sense her hands have become eroded Because why? Because of doing all this household chores, her hands become so rough or something, so eroded, and she's mentioning like cupped like a chalice. Cupped like a chalice, she offered me the blasted world, as if to say, this is out sacrament drink, I would not, this is all there is, I could not. So she's saying that she is giving me a cup like a chalice. Who is giving? The maid is giving the working women a cup like a chalice. Now, what is a chalice? It has a biblical reference to the holy chalice. It's also known as Holy Grail, and it is the cup that Jesus Christ drank from at the Last Supper, and that Joseph of Arimathea used to collect Jesus' blood at his crucifixion. So just like just like the Jesus, this maid is doing hard work. Her blood, her sweat, the entire result of her hard work is there in the chalice, which she offered me. Because that much hard work she is doing for the working lady, as she is her maid. Then she is saying, I would not, this is all there is. I could not, I left school. I left, she faded. So I left, she faded, in the sense she faded refers to the lady which she has in her mind. Like she, the maid, that kind of women have faded. She also might be like that before, but now she is empowered. Like she might also be like the maid, because her condition was also like that, and but now her condition has changed because of her knowledge. Now she is empowered. That is what she is meaning. So because she has left for school and gained education, that is how she became empowered, like that. So next line is like, the island faded, styles changed. You hid the dusty middle painting in the attic, but I'm still there, the one in middle ground. My face bruising lines of soft, while sheets my hand raised as if to push against the frame. That refers to the land in which, the islands refers to the land in which she is living. Because that also changed. We always used to say, no, how we change, our surroundings will also change. So just like that, as she becomes an independent lady, the islands around her have also changed. So the styles which she possessed, that also changed. Then you hit the dusty painting in the attic, but I'm still there, the one in middle ground. My face bruising lines of soft white sheets, while white sheets, my hand raised as if to push against the frame. That is, even though you hid the dusty painting in the attic, but I'm still there, the one in middle ground. The line is saying, my face bruising lines of soft white sheets, my hand raised as if to push against the frame. Even though there are lots of ladies within the frame, I'll be there in the middle. Who? The empowered lady. I'll be trying to push against the frame because I want to come outside. And I am outside, and I will be outside because I want to break the stereotypes. I want to be independent and empowered. And that is how I'm different from all other women. That is what she's saying. So in the same context, you can also take it like one lady I mentioned before had itself the first case. After that, when it is over, like we can consider, like in the second case, the two ladies are taken as one is mother and the other one is her daughter. In that context, we can say the painting, she is in your painting, the one you bought when the taxi snarled in market lines. You jumped out and grabbed a picture of stilted wooden houses against a vivid island. Even then there was recognition. That line we can be interpreted like how her mother was like beforehand, and how her daughter became empowered because her mother was not given that much importance and freedom at her times. She didn't go to school, but now her daughter, she got opportunity to go to school, and thus she could earn a living, like that. And what all things mothers do for their daughters, like her mother works for her, gives her food, and she does all the household chores. So just like the chalice Jesus offered, Similarly, her mother works hard for her daughter, and the result of her hard work goes to her daughter. And it's saying everything, no? And in a line, there is a line like, and like resemblance, no? People are saying like, I am not like her, I'm empowered now, but and I have to be very cautious that people say like I resembled her. There is one line, no? So it can be analyzed in three ways, like how, in which all ways she is similar to that lady. Or in this case, it's a mother and daughter, no? So then they have resemblance in three ways, like as an African lady, then second as a woman, they both have resemblance. Then the biological resemblance will be there as a mother and daughter, no? In that three cases. So in all these three ways, they have resemblance. But the daughter says, I'll not be like my mother. I want to be empowered. I don't want to be controlled by the patriarchy. I want to be independent. I don't want to be like the women inside a frame which is hidden in the attic. I want to be different from them, and I want to be empowered. So I'll push hard against the frame so that I can stand outside the frame. So that is what the poet is saying through this poem, and this is my analysis. This is my way of interpretation. You can also interpret the poem in different ways by understanding about the poet Claire Harris, about the inhabitants of Quebec, and about the ways in which African women are treated there. So hope you understood and enjoyed the discussion regarding the poem framed by Claire Harris. Thank you.